into session, and we'll go through each item. And colleagues, if you have anything, please just stop me, and we'll cover that matter at that time. All right, so of course, as usual, we'll have a call to order, and then we changes to the agenda, and at this time we have none. And then in section 3, we have recognition of the 2024-2025 Okaloosa School District Outstanding School Volunteer, presented by Superintendent Chambers. And then we have several administrative appointments. All right, so let's go through them. 4.1, appointment of Assistant Principal 2, 10 months to Richburg School, recommended by the Superintendent. 4.2, appointment of Assistant Principal 2, 10 month to Ruckle Middle School, recommended by the Superintendent. And then 4.3, appointment of Assistant Principal 2, 10 month Davidson Middle School, recommended by the Superintendent. Takes us to public comment, section 5. Section 6, we have no committee and staff reports, and that takes us to section 7, consent agenda. 7.2 is the approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearings of June 23rd, 25, minutes of the workshop June 23rd, 2025, and minutes of the regular meeting June 23rd, 2025, all recommended by Superintendent Chambers. 7.3, appropriation of District 1 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Choctawhatchee High School for a new sound system in the amount of $7,000, presented by myself. 7.4, appropriation of District 2 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Fort Walton Beach High School for flooring in the amount of $8,323.25, presented by Mr. Destin and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.5, appropriation of District 3 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Destin Middle School for classroom flooring in the amount of $13,104, presented by Ms. Vanchek and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.6, appropriation of District 3 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Choctawhatchee High School for a new sound system in the amount of $2,200, presented by Ms. Vanchek and recommended by the Superintendent. Thank you for that help, Ms. Vanchek, on that. 7.7, invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.8, school donations, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
comments on that one.
Yep.
We started out great, $88,550 to start the new fiscal year. That's a great start. Want to identify two of them in there. 850 Kids Inc. did $75,850 to Destin Elementary School for their grounds. I mean, in their turf and their play area. That's awesome.
That's a lot.
That's a 501c3 that the local people started just for that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And also want to mention the Moose Lodge 2193. They paid $6,000 to unpaid lunch balances in Elliott Point, Kenwood, and Wright. So that
helps.
magnanimous.
That's great.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, 7.9, Resolution 25-04, exercising flexibility to transfer funds allocated to the school district from the funds received for academic acceleration options, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.10, authorization to advertise the proposed preliminary and tentative budget and millage rates for fiscal year 25-26, presented by Ms. Perry and recommended by the Superintendent.
I have something on that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Perry, this is an item that sometimes the public gets a little confused on, that it looks like we have raised millage when we haven't. And I see that you have stated here that for the last, how many years, the millage has actually gone down.
Right, we've had a couple little tiny bumps along the way, but generally speaking, it's gone down. Right now, there's a preliminary required local effort based on the final conference report, and we will know what the actual required local effort is around July 19th, and then I'll have that in the preliminary and tentative budget. Right now, it looks like it's going to go down a little bit, but most likely because property values increase, we'll have to advertise as a proposed increase in taxes.
So
because of
sometimes it's
property
not
value.
that the actual, we voted to change the local effort or the millage, but that they go back and reassess the property values.
Yes,
And of
ma'am.
course, that makes the bill go higher, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for,
And Ms. Perry, I think it's along those lines interesting that it's called required local effort.
Yes, sir.
And that number, that millage rate number, how do we get that number?
The state gives that to us. We receive that from the final conference report, and then it'll be recalculated, and we will receive it through the Florida Education Finance Program calculation from the state.
All right, so the state gives us the required number.
Yes, and if we do not collect that, we cannot get the money from the state, and we wouldn't be able to run our schools.
Exactly. All
so
right,
we have to do that. Yep.
okay. And they do
Doc-
that for every school district, not
Yes,
just
sir.
us.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
And Dr. White,
Yes, sir.
and again, I appreciate those questions because I agree. Sometimes we get those as questions posed to us, but then also what Mrs. Perry just want to reiterate that though the required local effort went down, and because property values are up, we're required by statute to state it as a increase in taxes, even though it is not.
Correct.
And that's right, because when people get their tax bill, even though the millage went down, their taxes might be higher, and that's because their property increased in value.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, to
Yes, sir.
piggyback on that, just for the public's edification, so all the property tax that is paid in Oasis County comes in, I believe, just under 170 million. Is that about right? 100
Right.
Just
right.
under 170 million. So
Between the general and the capital.
between the RLE, the discretionary, and the 1.5. So our county is collecting from the property owners almost $170 million, and then the remainder comes from the state to run our district. Am I correct on that statement?
Well, and we got to throw in the federal government.
Well,
Right,
that's it,
right.
but,
And
but the reason I state that now, because there is a movement afoot to look at property taxes throughout the state. So right now, our county is contributing, our property owners in this county are contributing 170 million. give or
right,
take.
and remember, that is based on the required local effort, which we have to do, the .748, they call it discretionary operating millage, that we have to state is at the school board's discretion. However, the state expects every school district to levy that. They include it in the calculation when they say how much money we're getting. And then the third part of that is the 1.5 for capital. If we didn't do that, we would get a whole one, all we get is $1 million from the state. We have to raise our capital locally between 1.5 and sales tax.
So it's up to us, but we got to do it.
Yes.
And they hold us
But
off.
the discretionary, is that something we could change, or is that something that would have to be voted on?
You could only decrease it.
And we're
okay.
at the max on
You
that
could
one.
not,
All right,
yes,
that's
we're
what-
at the
okay, That's what I want
maximum.
to know. All right,
Yes, and like I said, every district levies that
yes,
amount.
okay.
So, and be even more specific, so there's 67 districts in the state of Florida. How many districts in the state of Florida levy that tax?
67.
Yep.
So, and I do have one quick question. Mr. Heinley mentioned about $170 million being raised here. But doesn't that money have to go to Tallahassee? Doesn't that money, it stays here?
No, it goes straight to us,
Okay.
because what happens is with the general operating, the state says, okay, you're going to collect your required local effort, you collect that money, and then we'll send you the balance to get your total base student allocation,
Right.
SAI, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it just comes straight here.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Perry. Very
Thank you.
helpful.
Thanks.
All right, so that takes us to 7.11, renewal of tag-on bid annual purchase agreement for indefinite quality environmental contracting services by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.12, exempted purchase over $50,000 to Raptor by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.13, service agreement number 26-22, James Kempfer, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.14, service agreement number 26-23, Blake Dickerson, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.15, service agreement number 26-24, Maria Pavone, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.16, Service Agreement Number 26-25, Patricia Loveridge, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.17, Service Agreement Number 26-26, Stephen Bear, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.18, Service Agreement Number 26-27, Elizabeth Morgan, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.19, Service Agreement Number 26-28, Jason Peterson, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.20, Service Agreement Number 26-29, Synced Up Designs, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. 7.21, Service Agreement Number 26-30 to Jamie Fields by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the superintendent. All right, 7.22, Sale and Disposal of Surplus Property by Mr. McElroy and recommended by the superintendent. 7.23, School Affiliation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Crestview Rehabilitation Center, presented by Mr. John Williams, Director, Okaloosa Technical College, and recommended by the superintendent. 7.24, School Affiliation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the State of Florida Department of Health, Okaloosa County Health Department, presented by Mr. Williams and recommended by the superintendent. 7.25, Affiliation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Westwood Nursing and Rehabilitation, presented by Mr. Williams and recommended by the superintendent. 7.26, Affiliation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Bridgeway Center, presented by Mr. Williams and recommended by the superintendent. 7.27, Title I, Part A, Title II, Part A, Title III, Part A, Title IV, Part A, Florida Department of Education Project Application Narratives for the 25-26 school year, presented by Ms. Dale and recommended by the superintendent.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. No, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yes,
That'll probably
ma'am.
answer it.
I do want to share with the school board that, you know, as it pertains to title dollars that are coming from the federal government, there's a number of title, I'm just going to call them projects, that have been frozen. And in the midst of a difficult budget cycle, that's created some pause, that's created choices that need to be made. As it pertains to the federal projects that are frozen right now, there's not word whether or not they're going to be unfrozen at this point in time. So we have had several meetings with our Superintendents Association, with the new Commissioner of Education, as well as leadership within the Department of Education. And right now, there aren't any answers. We have shared that time is of the essence because just like in Okaloosa, across the state of Florida, there's positions that are tied to these dollars. There are programs tied to these dollars. There's also rules as it pertains to federal dollars and how they're spent as it pertains to supplanting. And supplanting is something that we have to take into consideration, but right now there's not an answer on that as well. So there will be another meeting with our Superintendents Association and the State Board of Education. However, working with Mrs. Perry, we will work through our impact. Our impact is approximately, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Perry, our impact in the federal dollars right now is about $2.4 million. And that's comprised of some positions, and that's comprised of some programs, and then some other dollars as well. Mrs. Lightbourne and her group have done a fantastic job of going through each of the impacted title programs in terms of what we can cover with rollover funds, because the rollover funds we're able to utilize. So we're capturing as many of the rollover funds as we can in order to purchase, in order to fill positions in different programs as we can. We're right now trying not to supplant. And again, that's a key piece to this whole, I'll just call it a quagmire. When you look at a state budget right now, that has, I think it's factual that there's some challenges there, and now you throw on the federal piece, it adds even more angst across the state of Florida as it pertains to budgets. So, with that being said, I think it's an appropriate question. Again, I just thank Mrs. Lightbourne and her group working through this, Mrs. Perry working through this. We will, I'll say, be fine in the way that we handle this, but it's definitely an impact, a significant impact after an already challenging budget.
So there's no sense of when this might be looked at and you get these funds?
So we had a meeting last week, and then we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and then last week. That's the overarching question. When? No answer.
Okay, thank you.
And
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to give kudos to Ms. Amy Dale for spending time on the description and the process of Title I, II, III, and IV. Because, you know, the general public doesn't know exactly where those go.
That's right.
The description. So she spent time, so thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bryan?
I just have one quick question. So the federal government, the money that's frozen, what was, just so people would know that probably didn't hear, but why, what was the motive for the government to freeze that money?
Those programs are under examination.
I was thinking, though, that Title I was okay, didn't we? That it's not?
So Title I is fine. Ms. Perry, come forward. Or actually, Ms. Dale, come on forward. So Title I is fine, and then there's a few others that have also been recently released as well. And I'll just say, as Ms. Dale comes forward, and I appreciate you saying that, Mr. Heinley, working with her team and Ms. Perry, the way that you have to have knowledge of these title funds in order to move them accordingly and make sure that you're following all the rules, make sure you're doing it the right way. They've done that to give us as much flexibility as possible, but they've just done an awesome job. But share which ones are freed up right now.
In federal programs, Title I, Part A, we have those dollars, as well as IDEA will be coming this week as well. We've not heard on Title IX homeless, but that's a competitive grant, so we should be hearing about that one soon.
So at a school, if you're a Title I school and you have a program, so are you saying those funds are there? They can get
Yes.
started the school year?
Yes.
And so that would be one that we lean on heavily, I know.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
okay, so that's pretty good, so, all right.
But 2, 3, and 4 are unknown.
Correct.
And those are significant programs with impacts. And again, we're working through those.
Thank you, Ms. Dale.
Thank you.
So what we're voting on here is accepting these amounts or what they're going to be for, right?
Those were the program applications that were submitted to the
Yeah.
Florida Department of Education on what Okaloosa County School District intends to spend those funds on.
Okay, when we get them, right.
We
okay.
have Title I, Part A, so.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
those are being under review right now by DOE.
Okay,
And so the federal money funneled to the state, and the state funnels to the districts.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
And I believe, and I don't want to speak for the state, but I believe under conversations, there'll be a letter that'll be sent to the federal government, to the correct entities, just hopefully with timelines and those associated matters.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you. All right, 7.28, Focus Software Annual Renewal, presented by Mr. Mitchell and recommended by the superintendent. 7.29, Renewal of Ally Health Employee Benefits Program, presented by Ms. Cato, Risk Management, and recommended by the superintendent. 7.30, Trim Care Services Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa and Weatherproofing Technologies, a subsidiary of Trimco Incorporated, to provide roof warranties, presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. 7.31, Joint Use Facility License Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa and the Board of Okaloosa County Commissioners of Okaloosa County, Florida, at Shalimar Elementary School, presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. 7.23, Memorandum of Understanding between the School Board of Okaloosa County and North Florida Medical Centers, presented by Ms. Schroeder and recommended by the superintendent. 7.33, Cooperative Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Children's Home Society to provide in-school mental health services to students with parent consent, presented by Ms. Schroeder and recommended by the superintendent. And then 7.34, Memorandum of Understanding between the School Board of Okaloosa and Children's Volunteer Health Network to provide preventative and restorative dental services to students with parent consent, presented by Ms. Schroeder and recommended by the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to give kudos to Ms. Schroeder for spending time with me, going through all those programs, what schools they're going to. These programs are no cost to the district. They're great programs, and I appreciate Ms. Schroeder detailing that out to me.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the dental bus?
I have not.
It came here, was it last year? We all got to go out there and check it out. It's pretty cool.
I would run from it.
You would run from it? They don't work
Dentists
on you,
scare
they
me.
just show you.
All right. All right, 7.35, Memorandum of Understanding between the Consulate General of Italy in Miami and the School Board of Okaloosa County, presented by Ms. Brooke Barron, Director, Curriculum and Instruction, and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
I have a question on that, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
sir.
So I see on there, it says that there's a cost to the district, but there's funding by the Italian consulate. So do they pay for half of, or how's that go?
They pay for the entire amount. It's a one teacher allocation split between Niceville High School and Ruckle Middle School to teach Italian at those schools because of the large number of Italian students based on the number of Italian personnel that are stationed here. So yes, that's fully funded by the Italian government, the Italian consulate.
So on here, it says dollar amount impact 75,000, so that would be we get reimbursed for it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent,
Yeah, they pay us that amount of money and that covers the cost of the teacher.
awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Grazie.
Okay, thank you. Grazie.
Thank you, Ms. Barron. All right. Okay, so that takes us to Section 8. 8.1 and 8.2 are both information onlys. They include employees on admin leave and deferred retirement. 8.3, employment separations presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. 8.4, personnel recommendations presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent.
A quick question
Yes, sir.
regarding 8.4. I know the superintendent just mentioned about the budget situation being pretty tight right now. So I guess my question would be the recommendations that are there. These are all jobs that are currently positions that need to be filled, and we're not adding any positions, correct?
Yes, sir, that's right. We, as you know, each summer we turn over a lot of employees over the last several years, and all of the positions that are currently posted are part of the preliminary and tentative that you will see very, very nearly.
Okay,
Thank you, Dr. Hale.
thank you.
All right, that takes us to 8.5, employee transfers by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent, and then 8.6, leave without pay by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. No items on discussion. Section 10, program owners, representatives, business. 10.1 is the status report. Mr. Hintley.
I will be having that meeting today at 11 a.m., and I will report at the board meeting.
Okay.
And unless you have specific questions on 10.2 through 10.7, we'll cover them in detail tonight.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you. Let's go over those real quick right now. 10.2, funding and owner direct purchase, ODP, for Central Admin Building Phase 3 furniture, task order number 24 by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. 10.3, program number 6, task order number 35, Pineview School, Destin Elementary School, and Baker School additions, prime contract change order presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. 10.4.
Oh, excuse me,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry.
Go back. Sure, 10.3.
Okay, so I know you called and we talked about this, but I just want to verify. So the shared savings, right, that we're getting here, the money that we're saving, that can only be used in under the surtax money, projects? Oh, go ahead.
This is 1.5.
Oh,
which
1.5.
Will be used for capital funds.
So, okay,
Not on the sales tax side.
okay, so but even though these projects are?
No, this one's not. This is COP.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
okay, COP, I got you, because it's destined, that's already had, all right. So we can use that for further capital,
Yes, ma'am.
so it'll go to the 1.5,
Correct.
great, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Okay, all right, so 10.4, program number 6, task order number 2, district-wide school security upgrade and fencing prime contract change order presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. 10.5, program number 6, task order number 30, time and materials, construction of new electrical service at Lewis School and Crestview High School with upgrades at Niceville High School, prime contract change order presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent.
So quick question
Yes, sir.
regarding 10.5.
Yes, sir.
The new electrical service, is this basically going to replace the outdated service or electrical there, or is this something new?
So there were multiple schools that were in that task order.
Right.
Specifically, the last one was Crestview High School Stadium, and that is a new service in that
Okay,
area
so
of the school.
so that makes sense because I was trying to figure what was it that we were talking about, and I do
The old
remember
stadium
the
system.
stadium. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Meyer? All right, takes us to 10.6, program number 6, task order 42, time and materials, Spire Middle School flooring replacement, prime contract change order by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. And then 10.7, program number 6, task order number 25, time and materials task order, district-wide stadium repairs, presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent.
I want to ask on that, because I know a couple of years ago, we approved a program where we're systematically going through these stadiums. Is that what this is? Is that where we are on this? Okay, he's shaking his head that this is just, so do we look at all of them each year, or do we try and concentrate on an area? How do we do that?
We do inspect all of them each year, and specifically if we run into larger complications, we'll use those funds to do that. And in this case, we were using some for Meigs Middle School as we looked into the gym with that project that we're doing.
Right.
So it's stadiums and bleachers.
Okay, and so the amount, so you've already gone through and looked at them, this is the amount that you're saying you're gonna need
Additional funds that we need
to get them
Yes, ma'am.
fixed up and everything?
Yes, ma'am.
And I imagine you're working on that once, if it's approved, to try and get ready for.
School to start.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so that takes us now to Mr. Attorney, 11.1, your business.
No report this morning.
All right. Superintendent, your business, sir.
Thank you, Dr. White, School Board. I want to start with just a few things, and then we have a few presentations that we want to make as well.
Okay.
I will first want to say thank you to one of our former students, Richie Grant, who came this past weekend, and he provided supplies for 150 of our students. Played for the Atlanta Falcons and now plays for the 49ers. But just what a testament it is when students from our area go out and do great things and then come back and give back to the community. So I just thought that was awesome and just wanted to share that. And before I move on, some of you also might have some comments on that one.
Well, I certainly want, yeah, Richie's a former student of mine, a wonderful young man, and he continues to give back to our community, which is great. And I hate that he's now professionally moved so far away, because Atlanta was nice, but he's going to be a success wherever he is. He was a successful student, and I'm not surprised that he has a heart for our area, and always enjoyed working with younger children. So I appreciate that he's continuing this with his foundation. So that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I remember that young man in 6th and 7th grade. Have some good stories too.
Smile that lit up a room, right?
That's right. I do want to share something new that'll come this year, and it's the bus for our transportation department, that info locator. And this will start, it'll go live on July 28th, and this will allow families to go on the website to see exactly where the bus stop is located. So that's going to be a help, and it'll also let them know if they're a walker in case there are any questions. As a reminder to this board, for secondary, if they're 2 miles or more, we transport. Elementary, 1 mile or more, we transport. If you remember at the end of the year, we also try to get ahead of knowing who's going to ride the school bus. That's always a difficult task, so we put an initiative in place to do that. So we will know more of who's riding the school bus this year, but will we know to 100%? We will not. So the more information that we can get from families, that definitely helps, and I appreciate the partnership of our families filling out that information. But now they can also find specifically where the bus stops are located and whether they need to also be a walker.
So quick question regarding that. I know when we were going to do that, in order for anybody to go past into Focus, they had to actually click yes or no on that survey. So you're saying that some people probably should have clicked yes, but they clicked no.
I'm saying some people made strategic choices. So.
I will tell you it worked, because I had a parent call me that was like, I can't get through. Why do I, I said, is your child riding the bus? Yes. Then click yes, answer the questions, then you can go for it. So.
And I think you remember this was I think a 2-minute or less answering a couple questions to give us good data so we can be prepared for the first day of school.
Haven't we just gotten some more new buses, or not? Or I know he's not here, but I was thinking I saw some that said 26. Didn't I see some, or did I make that up?
We did have some new ones come
Okay,
in
good.
that we ordered a year ago. So
Right.
and hopefully here in the next few months we'll order some.
But
new
these
ones
have
as well.
26 on them, don't
Yes,
they?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
It's definitely a process to get the new buses here.
I know.
And I want to go into something that I think I know we're all extremely proud of, and that's our school grade and our district grades. So I first want to say I could not be more proud of our teachers, of our support staff, of our principals and administrators at the schools, as well as our district staff, who all work together as one team to get the results that we've received. And I also say, educating students isn't about receiving an A or a B. It's about educating students and making sure that they're prepared to go on to the next level, whether that's elementary to middle, middle to high, or being prepared for college, the military, or the workforce. But we are in a state where there's an accountability system in place, and we want to do as well as we can do each year. So I want to start off by saying that, just a reminder, and we're blessed here that we're one of only 3 districts in the state to be an A every year that grades were assigned since 2014. And I say that not as a bragging point or anything. I say that as it's getting more and more difficult. The benchmarks are more rigorous. The assessment is more rigorous. Dynamics, demographics, all these type of things have changed over time. And one thing that hasn't changed is the caliber of teachers we have and administrators we have, and obviously the students that we have who are in our schools each day. But dynamics are changing, and still to be an A district, for me personally, just extremely proud of our folks and what they're doing every day. Also want to say, when you look at the previous year to the most recent information, the state of Florida takes a total number of points based on all the different categories, and you get designated with an overall score total. The previous year, we were at 772 points, and this year, 793 points. So a 21-point gain in our district school total point for the district, okay? Then if you look going further, these are all the categories right here. And one of the pieces that I hope that we see here as we go across is we're going in the right direction, okay? And I want to give just a little bit of information here in a second. But I do want to share with you the one area that we went down, which was in the social studies area. If you look at civics in our middle schools, that went up. The U.S. history went down. So this year we had a change in how we administered U.S. history. We had 2 grade levels take it. We had 10th and 11th grade take U.S. history. Normally it's just 1 grade level. So next year we'll be back at the 1 grade level. So strategically, Mrs. Lightbourne and her group looked at when civics was going to be administered. So they looked at the whole progression from middle school to high school in terms of social studies progression and made some adjustments. So the U.S. history, this was an adjustment year where 2 grade levels took it. We went down a little bit, I think off the top of my head, 2 percentage points in U.S. history, but we went up in civics. I feel confident, and I won't be Nostradamus by any means, but I feel confident that next year when it's back to an associated grade level, we'll see our normal standard there as well. Going forward, when you look at our schools that are A's and B's, last year we had 86% of our schools that were A's and B's. This year we had 92% of our schools that were A's and B's. And for me, one of the things that we talk about is a goal for our district is growth, growth, growth. And yes, I say it 3 times, and it's in writing 3 times in what we share with our administrators. And I don't care if you're a C school, become better. If you're a B school, become better, so to speak. So it's about growth. And that's the trend line that obviously we'd like to see. Going forward, if you look at the 2-year comparison, the previous year we had 15 A's, this year 19. Now when you get to the B's and C's, you want those to go down as where we want the A's to go up. And for the B's, the previous year we had 17, this year 15, and then we had 5 C's the previous year, down to 3. And even within those C's, not all of them, but even within those C's, there's growth that we've seen within those C's as well. Going forward, and this is something that I'm extremely proud of, those who went from a C to a B or those who went from a B to an A. And you can see the schools, and I think it is worth stating. Choctaw went from a C to a B. You look at Edwins, went from a C to a B. And you look at Edwins, I could not be more proud of Mrs. Armstrong and her staff, and the same with Mrs. Heck and the staff. But to go from a C to a B, and I'll say challenging circumstances, and so it takes a whole lot. So I'm just very proud of that. And then Shalimar as well, from a C to a B, and Shalimar had a very strong jump as well. And then you look at B to A, Baker School. Shall I pause there, Mr. Vanchek?
Yep. Yep. Okay, I'm very proud of my Gators. I was just waiting to see when you're going to let me go for it, but this is the first time they've made an A since I've been their board member. But keep in mind, at Baker, it's like 3 different schools getting an A. The elementary, the middle. I was told, Mr. Martello, it's like keeping those plates spinning. Very difficult to get all sections. So I just couldn't be prouder for the Gators. They're ecstatic over that, and I know they've worked really hard. It was a concentrated effort to move that up. They were so close the last couple of years to that A, so I'm sure this celebration is coming, so I'm very, very, very proud of them.
Absolutely, and spoke to Mr. Martello, spoke to all of them, but Mr. Martello was extremely excited.
Yep.
And I also appreciate the words of Dr. White when we were talking about his specific schools as well, continuing to improve, so I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Bruner, from a B to an A. Now, Bruner has not been an A in, I think, 10 years, about 10 years, and this has been a systematic over time, the last few years with Ms. Graham Williams, and spoke to her, she could barely contain herself with how proud she was of the work of her staff. And then going to Davidson, a B to an A, again, just slowly, incrementally getting there. And then Walker. Walker had, I'll just call it significant growth, and all these schools did. Walker had significant growth, and again, incremental over time, and just you see in the results of that labor. So just very much appreciate those schools. And then you look at just 1 point away. So 1 point away from an A. So to be an A at the elementary level, you have to be at 62% of the points, and at the secondary level or combo schools, you have to be at 64%. So these schools were 1% away, and in the new progress monitoring, you can see it. So Joe Pete is monitoring this data every single day. giving us a report. I told him once a week. He sent it every day. So I had a report every day on how we were doing, and we were right on the cusp of these schools being an A as well, but just very proud of Fort Walton Beach High School, Meigs Middle School, and Northwood Elementary, 1 point away from an A. And then I just wanted to share with you just consistency over time, and at least 3 consecutive years of being an A, where it's not easy in today's day and age and how this works. But I'm not going to read every single school here. You can see them up there, but just being a model of consistency. And I'll say right here with the 3-year consistent A rating, where yes, I'm proud. I'm also proud of schools that are a B rating and continue with that growth as well, and those who have gone from a C to a B. So just very proud of what is occurring. Do want to share on the ELA side of the house. Overall, we went up in almost every category. Grade 3 is an area that we have to continue to focus on. We have to continue to get even better in that area, which means we have to get even better in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. Mrs. Lightbourne and her group have been working on that, also looking at our reading plan in terms of what we submit to the state of Florida and then what we do here in Okaloosa County in those younger years. But overall, you can see there's growth going forward. But I do want to say our overall ELA proficiency going back to 2023 was 58%. Then in 2024, 61%. And this year, 64%. So we've gone up 6 percentage points over the last couple of years.
I think it's interesting to see at the very bottom, it says all students, no exclusions. And for those that don't know, we have many languages that are spoken in our school district. And to see that's incredible, because that's the challenge, is the children that can't speak English proficiently, and for them to be a part of that, that's huge in my opinion.
And I appreciate you saying that, and that's just reality. And then you look at the ELA gains, you can see they're going across. Overall, there's gains. There's one area, grade 5, where we did come down in grade 5. So that's an area that we will always look at in terms of examining what may have occurred. But overall, you look at the 2-year comparison here, because 3 years ago, we didn't receive gains. So we had 59% of our students make gains in 2024, and this year, 60%. And one thing I say to folks, when you look at A%, when you're talking about 20-something thousand students taking a test, 1% is a large number of students. Going to the math proficiency, the same thing that you can see there. You're seeing growth going up, and then you see 8th grade and say, what in the world happened? So this year we made another programmatic change where we pushed even more students into algebra. So the students that remain now in 8th grade math, in essence, are some of our students who are, where math is a little bit more challenging. So we knew that we were going to have a drop there. The good thing is on the algebra side, we have more kids prepared for algebra, geometry, and to go forward into high school as well. So that'll be an area that we'll continue to look at. Mrs. Lightbourne and her group are continuing to look at that math progression and who should be taking the algebra test, who should be taking the 8th grade test, because it's different now. You have 6th graders who come in and they're already taking a 7th grade test. You have those who are coming in taking algebra or geometry or just an 8th grade test. So there's so many different assessments in the math, and it's about who's testing where. But the 8th grade was not a surprise, so that was a drop. If you remember last year, algebra and geometry was an area that we focused on. I am proud that at the high school level, middle school level, the best and the brightest take that. We do very well. At the high school level, students like myself, when I was in high school, I may have been more challenged in math. But we saw growth in algebra and proficiency at the high school level, as well as learning gains as well. Now, there's still work to do, but we're going in the right direction.
I have a question, and Ms. Lightbourne might be able to answer this. 7th and 8th grade, Mr. Chambers, I was that student. I didn't take algebra until ninth grade. And, but a lot of kids are now taking Algebra 1 in 7th and Geometry in 8th. What percentage of our students are in that field where of 7th and 8th graders that are actually, by the time they're done with 8th grade, have completed geometry? What kind of percentage is that? Is there?
So typically, our schools have about 5 sections of algebra, and then usually 1 or 2 sections of geometry. So I'm not. It depends on the school what the percentage would be, but that's typically what we have.
Would it be fair to say that maybe 25
20,
to 30%?
20 to 25%.
And that's big
yeah.
because back in the day, you didn't take algebra until ninth grade, at least back
Correct.
in my day. And now you got kids that are completing it, algebra and geometry before they even get into high school.
And Mr. Chambers explained that that's why our 8th grade scores went down, because we took all of our level 3s, 4s, and 5s, and they went into algebra this year. And we had great success with that. So, of course, our students who are struggling, our level 1s and 2s, are in the 8th grade math. So I still think that's a great success as well at 56% proficient there. So
I agree. I think it's successful considering.
Thank you, Ms. Lightbourne. In math proficiency over the last 3 years, 2023 overall, we were at 65%. The previous year, 67%, and then this year overall, 68%. So going in the right direction. The math learning gains, you can see overall continuing to increase. You can see there are a couple drops there on the learning gains side, but then you look at the algebra and geometry, and algebra and geometry is tricky with learning gains, because when you take, for example, in high school, when you're taking algebra, the learning gains will almost go back 2 years. So it's hard to get the actual learning gains. So Mrs. Lightbourne and her group are actually looking at some progressions there and how we look at high school algebra. So there'll be more to come on that as well. However, 32 to 40, 51 to 62. Now, when some folks see that and they may say, that's not as high on a learning gain, when you're looking at some of our most challenging students, especially at the high school level, to get that jump in learning gains, that's a success for us.
I have a question regarding what you were talking about, 7th and 8th grade and high school. So is it fair to say that a middle school like Davidson and Shoal River were A's, but Crestview was a B? Would that have an effect because those kids taking the higher courses in 7th and 8th grade would have a negative impact on the math at the high school level for those children that might?
So if you just look at math, I'll say the simplistic answer is there is an impact. And I think Mrs. Lightbourne's coming up here because I think she's going to address a little bit of that.
So if you think about middle school first of all. So our really strong math students come from elementary and they skip 6th grade. We do a summer bridge for those students to get the basics from 6th grade. They go into 7th grade advanced math. Now, these are our level 4s and 5s, mostly 5s, who do that. And that 7th grade math test, they do very well on, okay? So then they skip 8th grade and they go into algebra. The learning gains from the 7th grade test to the algebra test are always very, very low, because they're doing very well on a 7th grade test, then they're taking a high school test. Right. And that's a very difficult learning gain spread. I'm not sure. I think the state needs to relook at those learning gains and that progression. But
I think that's such a challenge for the high school.
It is. It is.
It's a challenge.
It is.
Yeah. But be very specific there. So on that 7th grade test, they may have achieved a 5. On that algebra test, they may have achieved
a 3 or a 4, which is still great. They're a 7th grader taking algebra, but when they do that, our learning gains are not there.
Right.
So as we go further, and then we look at science and social studies, I was very excited that we saw a bump in science this year. In science, going back on our 3 years, 2023, we're at 63%. 2024, 65%. 2025, 67%. So going in the right direction. We put an even stronger emphasis at the elementary level. So a 3% jump. So very proud of that work. And then looking at 8th grade science, you can see the 3%, and then the biology, 4%. And I don't want to just gloss over that. We were in a spot where science was kind of flat, and now to start seeing a trend going up, just appreciate what the schools are doing. I appreciate what Mrs. Ellis and her group are doing, as well as the other people at the district and the associated content areas as well. And here's where you see what happened on the U.S. history and the civics. And come forward, Ms. Lightbourne, and you can see the civics. We had an 8% jump. And Dr. White, as you know, we get questions a lot of times, do we teach civics in school? And not only is it taught in components across multiple grade levels, but now 8th grade, we have civics as a course in it of itself. So you see the growth there. U.S. history, we came down a little bit, but we also made a programmatic change in U.S. history.
So the change started in middle school with civics. So the civics test typically is taken in 7th grade. This year is taken in 8th grade. And the reason why we did that is the progression to U.S. history is better that way. So our students in 8th grade have civics. In 9th grade, they'll have government and either Florida history or another component for that second half. And then that goes into U.S. history in 10th grade. So the flow of the information is much better for our students than having that gap of world history or something else in the middle of it. And our students should, over time, be much more prepared for the U.S. history test. So this year in that progression, we changed. So we had some 11th graders who still needed to take the U.S. history test. And then we started with the 10th graders taking the test. So that's why we feel like that's why we had a dip, was this is the first year we did that. And those students didn't have that progression coming up.
So quick question regarding civics in 7th grade. It's now going to be 8th grade? Is
Yes.
that, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We
And-
feel like that progression is better, civics to government to U.S. history.
Right. And that's the one is that the one that's required for them to graduate, is the 8th grade civics, or is it?
No. 8th grade is an EOC,
Okay.
but is not required for graduation.
Which one is there?
Algebra is required for graduation, and then
But civics is something they're required to take.
they're
but-
required to take,
right.
and it counts 30% of their
Right.
grade.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lightbourne. And then go into graduation rates. So last year we were 88%, this year we're 88% as well. And I wanted to show this up here so you could see our 6 major high schools, Fort Walton, Choctaw, Niceville, Crestview, Baker, and Laurel Hill. And you can see that each of our 6 high schools are above 88%. So we have Baker right about 95%, Choctaw 91, Crestview 97, Fort Walton 89, Laurel Hill 100, Niceville 97. And then there's other schools. So we have Okaloosa Online, we have charter schools, we have DJJ. All of those schools are the number of our graduation rate. Mr. Spolsky this year, he started a progress in terms of coming on board. So he's working with each of the schools to include the schools that aren't our traditional public schools, working with them on their graduation rates as well. But when you see the 88%, I just want to make it clear that when you look at our 6 major high schools, all above the 88%, the vast majority above 91%. I believe off the top of the head, and I could be corrected, but I believe it's right around 94% for our 6 major high schools, the graduation rate. I could be off a little bit on that, but I don't think so.
Can I comment?
Go ahead, Tim.
When all this data came out, I mean, I'm like you, I was excited at all the progression and everything like that. But like I preach to when I speak to students and to parents is, this is the end result. This is what matters the most. And to see that, we have schools 97%, 100%, 97%. I mean, that's huge. That is a huge number right there. And that means, 97% of our kids at Crestview are graduating. And, even though the 3%, will probably eventually get to that point, it's still an incredible number, in my opinion, that the success of us graduating kids, I think that at the end of the day, that's our end result, is getting those kids those diplomas so we can get them ready for real life experiences, like you say, whether it's a military college or whatever. And when I saw this number, I was just over the moon, because I just feel like this is a very important number for the school district, that we're being successful in getting these kids ready for the future. So,
Great.
Well, so when I saw the 88%, I thought that did not look like it correlated with an A district as strong as that was. And you and I had a little discussion about, and if a student is in our school district and then leaves us, weren't you telling me something about that?
So if there's a student in our district and they leave us and they go to a school district in state, Mr. Spolsky come forward, if they go to a school district in state, then that still counts against us. If they go out of state, then it doesn't count against us. But that's why I have Mr. Spolsky to make sure to fact check what I'm saying right here.
So what we did is strategically met with all of those schools and all the schools in the column on the right to go over the W codes. Depending on how those codes are actually entered by the registrars, the counselors, the secretaries who are doing the work there, they can hurt us, they can help us. We have to code them the right way, but at the same time, we've got to make sure that they're coded the right way. As the superintendent said, all of those 6 up there came out to 94.83, almost 95% of our graduates, as you mentioned, Mr. Bryant. And that is the product that we look at in the secondary level, whether they're going to those 3 pieces. We will see more fruits of this labor in these meetings as we continue with these conversations with all of our schools at those big 6 and also those other schools.
But when you put in the non-district Okaloosa schools, that's what's bringing us down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we were talking about this earlier, a small school district like Lafayette County, and I just use that as an example because I know that superintendent, and they are a district, but they only have like not even 1,000 students. So one student could make a big difference, and I'm sure with those, with our charter schools, which by definition are public schools, all it takes is one student to really bring those numbers down in those smaller programs. Is that correct? I mean,
Very, very much so. And when our goal is to be one of the top 5 school districts in the state. That is our goal. We want to be in the single digits. And this is a key component to getting us there. Mm-hmm. When you look at the other populations across our state, you look at Miami-Dade is very large. You look at St. John's is a little larger than us. The only other school district that is close to us that's in that top 10, top 15 is Santa Rosa. So we're looking at some of the things they're doing. Seminole County's up there as well. They're 6,000. So we're looking at how many kids are in each of those districts and what are they doing to help those rates. Anything we can glean from any of those is on the right path, Mr. Bryant.
So if you go back to just our main high
Yes.
schools there, the 6, what did you say our rate would have been?
94.83, ma'am.
Which sounds like an A district. So we need to make sure that, I appreciate that you're looking at that, and whether it's the coding or what we have to do, because what the public sees is the 88, and it just doesn't seem to correlate with us having an A grade, so.
I don't have any tattoos, Ms. Ivanchik, but I feel like I should have one on my arm that says graduation rates right now. That's the intensity at which we're attacking this.
And what would be your second tattoo?
Fixed charges on this side, sir?
No, it would be acceleration rates.
Acceleration points, graduation rates. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Which leads us to the acceleration points. And this is something just very proud of, because we've put a lot of effort into this, a lot of effort. So, and then you look at basically acceleration points at the middle and high school level, simplistically is about preparing students for higher coursework, preparing students for CTE, preparing students for college, so advanced coursework as well. And you look at this year, the previous year we were 63% in that category. This year we went up to 72% at the middle school level. And at the high school level, 63 to 69. I do believe we're going to see an even greater jump, especially at the high school level. We're doing some things with progress monitoring, even more so. That's why Mr. Spolsky's second tattoo is going to be acceleration points. But then also looking at specific courses, such as Ducks Unlimited. And so Laurel Hill, they had a Ducks Unlimited CTE course at 100% pass rate. And it's about making sure that you provide programs, again, in particular areas where students can take that into their community and make things work. So that's one of the pieces that Mrs. Lightbourne is looking with our high schools at courses such as that as well, but continuing to be aggressive in CTE courses such as robotics, such as engineering courses, mechanical courses, and so forth. So good positive growth going there.
But doesn't it take some time on some of those certifications before that starts kicking in on
You're all over
statistics?
it. It's a year in the rear. So this work, to see this, started over a year ago. Okay. And so then the work that they were doing this past year will end up seeing the next year, because it didn't just count for this year.
Yep.
So it's about getting on it right away, understanding the acceleration point calculations, and then making sure that you offer good, strong programs for students to be successful in as well.
Like the Baker Agriculture, it'll kick in really more for next year's.
Next year.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay. And so that's a piece there of how last year went. There's still definitely room for growth. We have to continue to get better in 3rd grade ELA and math, 8th grade math, continue our focus at the 9th and 10th grade level in ELA, as well as algebra and geometry. So there's still work to be done, but going in the right direction. And just again, I couldn't be more proud of our teachers, our support professionals, our administrators, and district staff. These tests are not easy. These benchmarks are not easy. So just again, very much appreciative. Any comments before we go on?
I say cue the fireworks, and, we should be celebrating, and then get back to it. But I'm very proud of our district, and I've already spoken with Ms. Lightbourne this morning, congratulating her. There's so many people that go to make this success. And I'm proud of our district. I'm proud of the teachers, the students, everyone, and our parents who support what we do. So it certainly takes as you said, the OCSD family, everyone, to get it going. So I'm glad to be in our district.
So, Mr. Chambers, I don't know if this is appropriate at this time to maybe ask of this, but there was chatter after the scores came out about how the scoring is, how it's calculated and all. And of course, 60% is A, 62 and above, I think, is A. And there's chatter out there that people think that an A should be like 90%. Would it be appropriate that somebody might be able to explain how the state gets that this is a state calculation, this is how the state grades it? It's not necessarily like the grading that we would do for students, like a 90 and above is an A or something like that. How does the state come up with the grading system? Would that be?
Yeah. So the state generates the grading system. Again, 64% is the criteria for secondary schools and combination schools. That's the lowest threshold of an A. The lowest threshold of an A is 62% for elementary schools. So this is not a 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 90. If we had a 90 to 100 scale, the scales are different. The scales are different. Mm-hmm. But if it was 90 to 100, I'm not sure you would see an A. I'm sure you'd see some, but you wouldn't see very many A's across the nation. But in essence, the best way I can explain it is the school classroom 90 to 100 calculation is much different than a school grade calculation that the state develops.
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting at, is that the Department of Education sets this out as a benchmark for us to.
Correct.
But the bottom line is, every district in the state is on the same scale,
Right.
whatever it is. It comes out the same. It's just the way they use the numbers. But people are used to a traditional 100 point,
Right.
like 100 points on a test or 100. This is not that.
Right.
So, when they see that, they're like, wait a minute, how do you make a 64, whatever it is, and make an A? It's because it's on a different scale it's not on a 100-point scale. So,
And this is
Also-
where we use a moment to educate
Correct.
the general public.
The components that Mr. Chambers went through, where he went through proficiency, learning gains in each of the grade levels in each of the subjects, those are components of the grade. Also components of the grade were the other things that he went through, which were acceleration points and graduation rate. So when you put all of those components together, that's how the 700 and some odd points comes to play, and then that becomes the percentage. So it's all the components that Mr. Chambers went through, which is right out there, and that's what pulls it together to make that 60. It's not just like everybody needs to make
Right.
a 90
Right.
to 100 on a particular test. It's all those components together.
And there's a fundamental difference of measurement. There are individual scores, which we know is 90% to 100 is an A, but this is a global measurement,
Thank you.
multi-factored.
Correct.
And this is why the scale is the way it is done by the state.
Right.
That's why.
Correct.
And I totally agree. If you look at the numbers, everything we're showing improvement, we're showing acceleration, but at the end of the day, we're graduating these kids too. So I think that's
Absolutely.
most important. So.
And I think the last thing I would say on that again, and we always say we're a school district, not perfect. There's areas where we can get better. But I say this with a little bit of passion. I'm not going to apologize for being an A district.
yeah, that's right.
Man,
Mr. Meyer. Want to transfer just really quickly to on the capital side of the house.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Mr. Chairman, board members, if I may, want to give you some capital updates. What we finished up last semester, what we're trying to accomplish this semester, and then a few things moving into the next school year. So I see some of the facility guys in the back, Mr. Joel Linder's back there, Dr. Smith, Mr. McElroy. So these guys have been working hard on all of these projects to keep things moving. So we'll begin. This is a rendering of Pineview. So this is the
Wow.
latest rendering here from our architects. You can see
Wow,
it's
look at
coming
that.
together, and we'll have some videos of the actual site. But that is what we are anticipating when it's done, state of the art, and we're excited about that,
Other
Amazing.
than the trees.
other than the trees are in the wrong spot.
eventually, though.
Right. So,
Since you bring that up, can I ask a very quick question about the trees?
okay.
I mean, we have had to clear them all out. Is there a budgetary item for replanting?
So
Oh, you have to.
the tree line next to the bypass, we're going to try to keep as many trees that looks good, but you can still see some of the school that comes through. We're going to keep any of the vegetation as the site work will allow, and then in areas that need different trees, we have that laid out as well.
Are we bound by the same, like when a private business has to build something, they're required to put like 15 trees at least in there?
No, sir. Besides the retention ponds, that's a requirement. We can design the landscape as we want.
Well, and I know when I was on the Destin City Council, we created, and I purposefully did it, I buried inside the franchise agreement that a certain percentage of the funding that would be bringing in through the franchise fee would have to go to basically landscape improvements and not be crepe myrtles and not be some of the shrubs, and we call it, because this is a beautiful rendering and all of us are in love with it, but it's probably because it's so green and filled
right.
with fully mature trees, and that is not cheap, basically. You got to go hunt down live oaks and plant them, and then make sure that they don't get torn down subsequently when they start putting shade or leaves or something.
That's right.
You know, it's a whole thing. I just wanted to understand what our plans were to guarantee that that picture becomes a reality with regards to some mature trees.
It's a great point, and we've got to look long-term in the maintenance of those that are planted as well, so
Okay.
it's in consideration.
So I'm sorry, I'm just so excited about this. Y'all know how I am. So, looking at this, I see the road down here. Is that Inzer Road down here at the bottom?
The very below where it says capital project
Right.
update, that is the bypass there.
That's
Yes.
the bypass. Okay, and then this is on Inzer Road, so that's right off that. Okay,
right.
so we're looking in what?
We're looking
direction?
westward.
Okay.
To the right where car riders and parking would come into. The road that is to the south of the building would be one way out, and the bus ramp is on the left-hand side of this slide.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Okay.
They do
All right.
plan on having a traffic signal there.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side. Okay. I don't want to take any thunder away from Mr. Heinley tonight, but I'm going to go through these quickly. Since January of 25, so second semester of the school year, these are the task orders that were completed. If you recall, Shalimar and Bob Sykes were the last two cafetoriums to finish, and we did some ribbon cuttings on that. Prior cafeteria upgrades is just about done. Some of the work has been done, and we're waiting on furniture. I'll have a couple pictures of most of these. Auditorium renovations, Florosa's roof, softball concession stands at those two schools, Meg's front office, Mary Esther HVAC, and the cooling tower at Fort Walton. So just a few slides, finished product. This is the cafetorium at those two schools. This is Bob Sykes, the outside of the building, and the interior of the cafeteria. The kitchens are full use, and schools are using them. So it's been a good addition to all those elementary schools that got the new cafetoriums. This is prior renovation. It's still being worked on. We got it painted, new acoustical panels, new flooring on the stage and the stage steps. The picture to the left there is a rendition of furniture that is on its way, so it should be here by the end of the month. This is the auditoriums, which we did show a few of these slides last time. Crestview at the top, but then the other schools are finished as well, and that's chalked on Fort Walton at the bottom, and Niceville with the new ADA ramp as well. Florosa, if you recall, last school year we put this on the project list and we got this done, well needed. So the picture to the right was the old roof, and now with the new coating that we got in place, but much better space currently. Here's two pictures of the softball press box and concession stand. The Fort Walton was able to use that as they were in the playoffs, as they were making the run for the state championship. So that was not great that we got that in place. Both took a little bit longer than we wanted to get done, but well needed at those schools. It turned out great. The Meg's front office renovation. This was a project that was the entire school year, but we finished up just about as summer approaches as far as the first section, not the gym. The gym is still being worked on, but the restrooms that were attached to this, the nurses' clinic, the teacher's lounge, which is a picture on the bottom left there, multiple offices, that space is done, and they'll be able to use that this school year. Meg's has two more projects that we're currently working on: the gym, which is a picture to the top there, and then a new parking lot to the right of the school when you pull into the road there. So a lot of work going on at Meg still. These were two large HVAC system overhaul that finished up second semester. Mary Esther, that was once a two-pipe system, and now they have individual units for every classroom, so each teacher can control their own temperature. That was well needed. They've had a lot of issues at Mary Esther for a long time, so that school was great about rotating teachers in different classrooms, so you could we could do the work above the ceiling in each classroom, and there's a picture to the right there. But it was smooth, and the school did a great job allowing us into the spaces to get that done. And then Fort Walton's cooling tower was finished up as well. These are projects that we're still working over the summer, and we're pushing to get done before the teachers come back. Lewis concession stand, that's out in their new stadium. We want that ready when football season starts. Meg's gym and parking lot we're still working on. Niceville High School in their first 3 hallways. There's chilled water piping that's being re-insulated. So again, that's a tedious job. You have to take down ceilings and then get into the system and then rewrap it and then put the ceilings back. All along, the school's been great with holding off custodians, getting their wax their floors, but we only have a few weeks left, but we're in a good spot to get that done. Crestview's had a lot done with their parking lot. The first phase is essentially done, and we're working on phase 2 now. Additionally, and we've started, but we won't be ready for school to start, is the band room addition. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a second here. Meg's parking lot, Elliott Point's roof, and some of our restrooms that we're renovating in multiple schools. Here's a picture of the Lewis concession stand. This was last week, so this is currently where it sits. We're really close to being done with that. This is Meg's, just a day later than the first picture that you saw. They have a first coat on there, and they're going to get in there and paint and then put other sealants on it. It looks great, by the way. And you see no bleachers in there. They're on the way as well. But new ceiling, new lighting, new painting, new backboards. It's going to look a lot different.
And there's no holes in the gym floor.
That's right, yes. And there was a lot of termite damage, and we ran into a lot of issues that we've been working hard to get done this summer. This is Elliott Point's roof. You can see on the picture on the right there, this was a complete tear off. You could see through the building there. This was a lot of work, but they've been working hard every night to get this done. Remember, this is 2-phased with Elliott Point. First phase will be done this semester, and we'll have to come back, this summer. We'll have to come back next summer to get the other half done. But this is a big project. They've been working hard. Weather pending, we're looking like we're in good shape. All right, and these will continue to go on throughout next school year. Edwin's renovation of the old cafeteria and media center, I got a couple slides for that. Baker 10 classroom addition, Destin's addition, Pineview, of course, Niceville and Crestview's band room, Crestview's parking lot, and Edwin's roof. We'll continue to work on those throughout next school year. This is what Edwin's is currently. So you can see this was the media center and the cafeteria. It was completely gutted. The bones and the infrastructure, as far as the building, are solid. So we have stripped it down to bare bones, and we're rebuilding it back. But again,
So this is the cafeteria right here? The old cafeteria?
The one on the left is the old media center, which will be the 3 classrooms.
Yeah.
The one on the right is the old cafeteria.
All right.
Yes. So they're working hard. A lot of construction is going on this campus, because not only is this project going on, they're also doing the roof. So they're working as hard as possible, but this one will continue into first semester. This is the roof there. Again, left side, it was in bad shape, really falling apart, and then the right-hand side is what we're moving to.
Hey, Mr. Meyer?
Yes, sir.
Is it reasonable to, because I've been asked by a few parents, is it reasonable to suggest that both of those projects at Edwin's would be concluded by Christmas?
We anticipate that, but that's our goal. I'll say that. Yep. Okay. So here's a couple videos of each of the larger projects. This is Baker. This is the north side of their campus. This project has actually caught up to the other project. This one started later, but they're moving quickly. You can see the foundation and the walls are going up. besides really working in a muddy site, things are going smooth. There will be a parking lot to the left-hand side or the north side of this building as well. But this is where all those portables, 8 portables, were just a few months ago. So they're moving very quickly. Looks great. Yes. And to the right-hand side, that tree line is the additional property that we secured and got that we own now. So future growth there. That is Baker. This is, oh, sorry. Let's see. Might have to get some help from Miss Hillary over there if this is. Here's Destin. This is looking from the south to the north. Those portables are now gone, but the building, the 2 classroom building, which is classrooms
So is that on the south end of Kelly Street?
that are moving away, and it's going into the multipurpose building side. And now we're looking at the side where the multipurpose building will be and the administrative offices will be. The bus ramp is the clay outline to the south, or to the south of those buildings that you see. We have identified the media center building there. We're gonna have to recoat that roof. As you start doing aerial photos, you find other issues and you're gonna have to address. But that's coming along. It's coming along great. Lord and Son is on each of these projects, and with Jacobs, they're just moving really quickly. So large addition there. And then, of course, Pine View. So if you haven't been out there in a long time, now we really have our structures going up. To the bottom left there, that's the kitchen, cafeteria, science, CTE area. The foundation that doesn't have walls on it yet is our media center. In the middle of that is our administrative wing, moving into our band and chorus, and that blue section is our gym. So as you can see, the classroom wings just about have the first floor roof done, and they'll be moving up. Actually, on one of those wings, you can see the walls up on the second story. Smaller CTE building trains at the bottom. That smaller building to the right-hand bottom of this slide now is our chiller plant. But parking lot is, some of it's paved on the north-hand side. That's where you would enter the school. A lot of progress going on there, so looks good. And then just a few upcoming projects that pending funding and board approval we're looking at is continuing with the old cafeteria renovations. We have Ruckle and Plu that we're working on drawings, and then we'll start getting some pricing. Elliott Point's roof still needs to be done. Bruner has a lot of HVAC work coming up. STEM cafeteria is one possibility to move towards getting done quickly. OTC North and Crestview AI Lab, both Triumph projects we're working on as well.
So real quick on the OTC North, just where are we at on that?
We're still working through Triumph and getting the everything required to get that okay to get started.
Do we have a date that we're looking at maybe getting it open? Will it be 2026 probably?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
These are just a few projects that our maintenance group has been working with or on through second semester and this summer. So as you just read through that, I always want to throw out, we're not just doing task orders. We're still doing things through the maintenance department. So there's some real good examples of what they've been working on. That's just in the south end. Here's central projects, and then projects in the north. So we want to continue to do as much as possible in the time we can. So I appreciate the time.
I'm glad that you showed the ongoing maintenance, because I know it's real exciting to see the new construction, but the bottom line is people still want the older parts of the buildings to be clean.
That's right.
And updated, especially your restrooms, those kinds of things when we have people come in. So I'm glad that you touched on that, because, yeah, it's exciting to have a new school, but we want everything to be in the best shape that it can be for, our students to come in to have that environment. So appreciate the maintenance crew staying on those areas.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. And Dr. White, the last piece is just a quick hiring update.
Okay.
Dr. Hale?
Welcome, Dr. Hale.
Good morning. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to go after Mr. Grant and his fancy videos. But I did want to give you an update of all the busyness that's happening over in HR this summer and the work that remains to be done, and I'll be brief. To this point in the hiring season, there have been 177 offers of employment accepted, either by transfer or new hire. There are currently 35 hires still being processed. So that means there's 142 that are already in place and ready to go, ready to work, with still basically half a summer left to go in terms of the hiring process. Just for your information, as I've been doing over the past few years, giving you kind of a little demographic indication of the hires that we've made, 36 of them are first-year teachers. And of those 36, roughly half of those are career changers, as we've been want to expect over the last couple of years. And I don't see that trend changing as we proceed, in the future. Right now, there are currently 49 school-based vacancies instructionally, of varying types, I should say, and all across the district and all the different zones as well. Right now, one of the things that I have found that's an improvement over years past, basically, A, is the number of vacancies at this point. We had well over 100 at this point in last summer. And also the number specifically of ESE vacancies, percentage-wise, is way down in terms of the schools. There's only 14 school-based ESE vacancies across the entire district. And, in any way, shape, or form, whether it be a VE class or an autistic teacher, et cetera, like that. I would say that the autistic teacher, there are 6 vacancies, which represents the highest single vacancy across all 49 of those, along with secondary math. Those seem to be our 2 areas of attention right now. 6 secondary math vacancies and 6 teachers of autism is the primary thing that we are looking for. In terms of the non-instructional, always looking for paraprofessionals. That is our biggest category once again, and will continue to be as we seek people that are willing to do paraprofessional. Of the 17 postings that we have right now, 13 are of the ESE variety, and that's a pretty important task each year, is taking on those ESE paraprofessional responsibilities. So we're continuing to seek those, and of course we are always seeking bus drivers, custodians, cleaners, and interpreters. Those are our focal areas on the support side. Questions?
Yes. How old are you today?
I'm 1 year older than I was yesterday.
And I've known you so long that I'm not going to say anything because we have too much on each other.
That's right. I am proud to be 38 again.
That's right.
54.
Happy birthday. Anything else?
That is it, Dr. White.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, Superintendent. All right, colleagues, that brings us to board members' announcements. And so, Mr. Heinley, sir, I'll start with you.
Due to time constraints, I'll reserve mine for tonight.
Okay, all right. Ms. Evanchek.
Just real quick, we've covered a lot of things, but also want to remind everyone about Stuff the Bus, which is a partnership between our Public Schools Foundation and local United Way, coming up on August 2nd at all Okaloosa County Walmart locations. And, I think we're a month away from school starting, 4 weeks from today. So school supplies, always needed. So either bring supplies there to where you see the bus, or buy them there at Walmart and bring them out to the bus. We'll have people to collect those. And there's a list on the beautiful graphics that Hillary and Catherine all do on our website, shows a list of the more traditional things that are needed for these things. So, and you can go to each school if you want to do that. Also, the Take Stock in Children program is still looking for mentors for the fall. It's a very rewarding position to work with a high school student. You only have to, have a limited amount of time, about an hour or so a month, and it's very rewarding, and that is a requirement for those students to get those scholarships. So if you're interested in being a mentor, call the district office and tell them you want to be in touch with Take Stock in Children. They'll get you to the right person to mentor. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bryant.
Just real quick, I do have one request. Could I get Mr. Myers' presentation that he did? Could we get that sent to us?
You can.
Yeah. There was a lot of information on there, and it was such small writing, I had a hard time seeing that. Just wanted to say, once again, Mr. Superintendent, congratulations. I know you are very proud of your team and everybody that has helped us to get to a rating. I will tell you that at the state level, I too do not make no apologies about how we are an A school. I'm very proud of the fact that we are A school, just like my fellow board members I know are. I will just say that looking at the way the state does it now, I would have to give credit to those who looked at it from how we monitor progression now, and I think that's I think we're in year 2 of that now, and it's really making a difference on how students are being successful moving forward. So I think you know, a lot of kudos. I know people will say, "Man, y'all are testing like crazy," but it's really to the benefit of the students to be successful at the end of the day. So I think the way the state does it now is really, it's been challenging, I know, for teachers to begin with, but we are seeing the end results of how it's helping these students. But congratulations, Mr. Superintendent. I know you're proud of that. And to everybody that is working this summer, there is a lot going on, and Mr. Meyer talked about constructions, but also inside the schools, a lot's going on. So thank you to those 12-month employees who work tirelessly during the summer, and even those that aren't 12-month employees that still come up and get their classrooms ready and all that. A lot's going on in the schools during the summer, so thank you to those that do that. But other than that, I hope everybody's enjoying their summer.
All right, thank you. Mr. Destin.
Only a few items. I just want to thank Ms. Ivanchek for her support of Destin Middle School with the flooring. I know that's going to go a long way. I had given them some money, but I really, on behalf of Dr. Smalls and the folks who are going to benefit from, thank you very much for your help.
Glad to do it.
Oh, yeah. And then also I just wanted to give a kudos and a shout out to Miss Williams at Bruner. That is a really special school, and the fact that they went from a B to an A, and like you said, Superintendent, I don't think they've been an A for over a decade. And that is a trend that almost self-perpetuates itself, and is really hard to buck when you think about the fact that once you start down one track of perhaps the negative perception that if you're a parent in that area of Fort Walton, you have a choice that you can send your kid to Bruner or you can send them to Liza. That is really, really hard for a parent to say, no, I'm going to stick it out at Bruner. I'm going to make sure that I pour into that school for the PTO, from the supporting, volunteering, everything. But Ms. Williams, her staff, I know everybody at the district has worked really, really hard, and for them to go from a B to an A, in spite of the competition that they are in and the perception that they have to fight, is really, really remarkable. It's noteworthy. I was one of the last classes from Destin that attended Bruner. I was a 6th grader there. I was a Bruner Spartan. I know it's a good school. I know it's a special school with a lot of really hardworking families, and to see them head in that direction is fantastic, because I know they're fighting a lot of times some really, the incoming tide, it feels like sometimes, with a shovel and a pail. I mean, I know for a fact that Liza had a bus stop at one point last year where they were picking up some of our kids and taking them to Liza out of the Bruner parking lot. And you're going, geez, that's kind of a slap in the face. But that is really a testament to how hard they're fighting, and they're making inroads. So I couldn't be more proud of all of them, because it's from top to bottom. I know everybody's trying really hard. So it's noted, and I couldn't be more thrilled. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Destin. All right, colleagues, that takes us to Section 14, public comment. Section 15, and we have several public hearings this evening, so let's go through them quickly. 15.1, public hearing for revision of School Board Policy 04-44, student enrollment and educational decisions, presented by Ms. Lamb and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 15.2, public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policies Chapter 6, Personnel General, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 15.3, public hearing, School Board Policies, Chapter 7, Personnel Support, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. 15.4, public hearing for adoption of revised school board policies, Chapter 8, Personnel Instructional, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on that one.
Which one? 15.4?
0.4.
Yes, sir.
813 was deleted. I'm assuming that's statutory. It got rid of the best and brightest recognition awards.
I see Dr. Hale approaching.
Yes, sir. By statute, that program sunsetted some time ago, so it just made sense for our policies to reflect that.
Okay. All right, that takes us to 15.5, public hearing for adoption of revised school board policies, Chapter 9, Personnel, Admin, Managerial, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent. And then 15.6, public hearing for revision of school board policy 11-05, selecting professional services, presented by Dr. Smith and recommended by the superintendent. All right, so that takes us through those public hearing items. And anything from staff, association, superintendent? We're good. Mr. McInnes? This workshop is adjourned.